Today we look at the top 10 largest exporters in Africa. Worldwide exports from all countries equaled $17.3 trillion in 2020, rising 8.6% in value since 2016. With Africa's totaled $370.8 billion in 2020, the continent's exports represent an estimated 2.1% of total world exports in 2020. Strategic steps are currently taken to boost the continent's export industry, and these export figures are expected to rise in coming years. Before we continue with this video, kindly subscribe to our channel if you are new here, and turn on our notification to always get notified each time we drop a video. Stay tuned. Coming 10th on this countdown is Ivory Coast. Since 2014, Ivory Coast has become one of the fastest growing countries in Africa, with average annual growth of over 8% according to IMF 2019. It is a regional hub and can be the gateway to French-speaking Africa for exporters. The top exports of Ivory Coast are cocoa beans at $3.84 billion, gold at $1.09 billion, ruats at $1.08 billion, refined petroleum at $1.02 billion, and crude petroleum at $941 million, exporting mostly to Netherlands, United States, France, Spain, and Malaysia. In 2019, Ivory Coast was the world's biggest exporter of cocoa beans, cocoa paste, and cocoa shells. Ghana. With two ports, the 4,000 square kilometer Tema Harbour and the Takoradi Harbour, Ghana's exported goods represent 40.3% of total Ghanaian economic output. The country's biggest export is gems and precious metals. Ghana is Africa's largest gold producer. Total gems and precious metals exports had a value of $3.5 billion and represented 34.4% of total exports. Closely behind this is mineral fuels including oil, accounting for $2.6 billion, representing 25.4% of total exports. The third largest export is cocoa at $2.5 billion, which represented 24.4% of all exports in 2017. Tunisia. Tunisia boasts of 16 ports in total, notably the Port of Tunis, Sfax, Las Kira, and Didon Terminal. Tunisia's biggest export is electrical machinery and equipment, accounting for $4 billion and 28.4% of total exports. The closest behind this is clothing and accessories, with $2.2 billion in exports, representing 15.5% of all goods. The third biggest export is knit or crochet clothing or accessories at $893.3 million, representing 6.4% of all exports. DR Congo. The export industry is key to Congo's economy, as the nation's chief export is petroleum, which accounts for the vast majority of its export earnings at 92% and $12 billion of total exports. Wood and wood products including logs and sawn timber are also notable exports. Significant imports include machinery and transport equipment, food and live animals, and basic manufactures. Among Congo's principal trade partners are France, China, and Italy. Algeria. Algeria has 12 ports, with the port of Algiers being the first ever commercial port in the country. The country's highest volume of exported goods is made up of mineral fuels including oil, with a value of $33.8 billion, accounting for 96.1% of all exported goods. The second largest export sector by some margin is inorganic chemicals at $382.9 billion, representing just 1.1% of all exports. The third largest at $327 billion, accounting for 0.9% are fertilizers. Angola. Angola has 4 ports, with its main port being Luanda. Luanda handles more than 70% of the country's entire imports and exports. Luanda is the capital and largest city in Angola and the country's most populous and important city, primary port and major industrial, cultural and urban center. Its largest export sectors include mineral fuels and oil at $32.3 billion, representing 95.6% of total exports, gems and precious metals at $1.2 billion, and machinery including computers at $46.4 million. Egypt. A country boasting 7 ports in total, the true jewel of the Nile for Egypt is the port of Alexandria. Sitting on the west verge of Nile Delta between the Mediterranean Sea and Marriott Lake, it is considered the main port of Egypt's entire foreign trade. Mineral fuels including oil holding the largest share of exports, with $5.1 billion making up 19.5% of total exports. The second biggest sector is gems and precious metals at $2.1 billion, accounting for 8.2% of all exports. The third largest volume of exported goods is electrical machinery and equipment, with $1.7 billion making up 6.7% of all goods. Morocco is home to 5 ports: the port of Osima, Casablanca, Essaouira, Safi and Tangier. The largest and most famous is the port of Casablanca. Casablanca's port handles more than 21 million tons of traffic annually. Its greatest export is electrical machinery and equipment, which had a 2017 export value of $4.2 billion and accounted for 16.5% of total exports. At $3.4 billion and accounting for 13.3% of total exports is vehicles. The third largest exports are fertilizers, with $2.6 billion at 10.1%. Nigeria. The major ports of Nigeria include the Lagos Port Complex and Tinkan Island Port in Lagos, Calabar Port, Delta Port, Rivers Port at Port Harcourt, and Oni Port at Onitsha. Nigeria's largest exported goods sector is mineral fuels including oil, with $39.1 billion in exports representing 96% of its entire exports. The second largest exported goods sector was scrapped vessels and boats, accounting for 0.6% of all exported goods. Nigeria's third largest exported goods industry was cocoa, accounting for 0.6% of all exports, with a total value of $238.1 million. South Africa. South Africa is situated on one of the busiest international sea routes, and the South African government has identified the country's ports and terminals as key economic drivers of growth. It has 8 ports, with the Port of Durban representing the largest and busiest shipping terminal in sub-Saharan Africa. In 2017, South Africa's largest exported goods sector was gems and precious metals, with a total value of $14.9 billion, accounting for 16.7% of total exports. The Republic's other exports are significantly higher than in other African countries, with the 10th largest export sector, beverages, spirits and vinegar, still coming in at $1.4 billion. The second largest export sector was ores, slag and ash at $11.3 billion, accounting for 12.6% of all exported goods. Give this video a like if you enjoyed it, and feel free to drop a comment in the comment section below. Thanks for watching.